Hello, this is the fourth and last video in the series on how to manage stress during COVID-19. Today I'd like to talk about exercise and a concept called mindfulness. When we talk about exercise, it's nice to separate exercise into different categories. Sometimes we talk about anaerobic types of exercise, and these often include lifting heavy weights. The benefits of anaerobic exercise are increased muscle and increased strength, and there are all types of benefits to that. The other type of exercise is considered aerobic, and I think we all know that these are the types of exercise where you will be breathing heavily, and if you do it vigorously, you'll start to sweat. Things like long distance running, and these wind sprints here. Besides the health benefits and reduction of stress from aerobic exercise, it's also been shown to cause the release of what's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And this particular chemical has been shown to stimulate the growth of nerve cells, neurons, within a region of the brain called the hippocampus, which is involved in memory. So on top of the benefits of stress reduction and health, there's also brain benefits in terms of memory and cognitive ability. The latest trend is high intensity interval training. And for those of you who really like exercise, high intensity interval training may be the thing for you. So these wind sprints are an example of high intensity interval training. A sample type of HIIT training might be running at full speed for 30 seconds, followed by a rest of 30 seconds. And then repeating this maybe 3 or 4 times. It is, like the name implies, high intensity, but it can be completed in a relatively short time. If you run long distances or if you cycle long distances, you may be exercising for hours if you're on a bike. But with high intensity interval training, you can get a really good workout in perhaps 20 or 30 minutes. So exercise is directly responsible for the reduction of stress. And exercise also helps to improve sleep, especially when it's performed at some time from bedtime. So if you exercise close to the time you sleep, it can cause problems getting to sleep. Otherwise, it's a great way to improve your sleep and reduce overall stress. It's great for your overall health. But you don't have to do high intensity interval training to get the benefits from exercise. Walking is a sufficient form of exercise, especially if we do it regularly. An interesting study that I came across showed that health benefits of walking outdoors is greater than walking on a treadmill. Other studies have shown that simply being in nature is helpful for our mood and reduction of stress. So this experiment was done in 2018, and they had 50 college-age students broken into 2 groups of 25, and the results were that being in nature and walking was better at reducing stress than walking on a treadmill. Many of you may know that the treadmill started off as a way to punish English prisoners in the 1800s until it was found to be cruel and unusual. But clearly, some people really do like to ride on the treadmill. So if that's your thing, feel free. But in these last few days of good weather, it might be nice to get out and take a walk. Let's move on to our next concept, which is mindfulness. It's kind of a fad. It's kind of an industry. So recently you may have seen magazine covers that discuss mindfulness, or found the apps on the App Store about mindfulness, and different apps to help you practice mindfulness. But you don't have to spend any money to do it. And if this fad goes away, it will still be supported by science. It will still be an effective way to improve your mood and to improve your health. So mindfulness is going to be around even after the fad goes away, and you don't have to spend any money. When we want to look at science, sometimes it's nice to look at what's called a meta-analysis. And so this particular meta-analysis looked at 100 different studies. Meta-analysis is a good way to look at the consensus of scientists. So we look at multiple studies all at once and then see, do they agree? And if so, how much do they agree? How much dissent is there towards a specific idea? And so they looked at these 101 randomized control studies and wanted to know if mindfulness was effective, and found that it had a moderately large effect on mental and physical health as well as social functioning. So there is science to support this idea of mindfulness. When we discuss mindfulness, it's kind of one of those concepts that's really difficult to understand, especially at first. And so it might be better to discuss what mindfulness is not to better understand what it is. Mindfulness is not a sedative. So it's not like the effects of alcohol or other drugs. When you practice mindfulness, it is not a hypnotic state. You're not more suggestible when you practice mindfulness. It is not an altered mental state, like taking psychedelic drugs. And it's not even a necessarily restful or drowsy state. But what mindfulness is a relaxed but fully alert state. It's relaxed but completely focused. And I think you can see here that this is going to be a practice. In other words, you're never going to get perfect at this. You can't be fully alert and fully focused at any given moment. That would be to practice perfection, and we can't do that. And since we can't do it perfectly, you can't be judgmental about it. When you're practicing mindfulness, you shouldn't be harsh on yourself, or wonder how well you're doing it, or worry so much about how well you're doing it. That's really the first question for people when they start practicing mindfulness. I think the first question is always going to be, am I doing this right? And it's nice to know that there is no way to do it wrong. You will never get it completely right, and you are never going to be perfect. It's a practice. But you will get better, even though you won't get perfect at it. We have thoughts, and there's really no way to control that. And we shouldn't try. Our thoughts can generate emotions within us. But you have to remember, we are not our thoughts or our emotions. Our thoughts and our emotions don't need to control us. We are an awareness. Our thoughts and emotions are simply energy that pass through us. And when you practice mindfulness, you can think of maybe a 5 or 6 year old child that's really excited and never knows when it's their turn to talk. They'll jump right in the middle of a conversation, stomp all over your words because they got excited about something. They'll burst into a room unannounced, showing you a pine cone that they found outside. So thoughts are like that. Thoughts are like little kids. And when the kid bursts into the room excited to tell you something, you're not going to chastise that kid. You're not going to yell at them. You're going to be patient with them. You're going to direct them, right? And that's what mindfulness is like. Another way that we can think of mindfulness is if you've ever taken a new puppy out for a walk, and I guess all puppies are new. You take your puppy out for a walk on a leash for the first time, and they are going to pull. And then they're going to want to sniff something, and you're going to be dragging them for a while. And they'll wrap their way around your feet, and they'll bite at the leash. They're hard to control, just like your thoughts. Your thoughts are very difficult to control, and the emotions that come with them can steer you off course. So if you'd like, I'd like to try and do a mindfulness meditation and guide you through it for about 6 minutes. If this is not something you'd like to do, feel free to skip ahead a bit. But if you do have the time, what I'd like you to do is find a comfortable seat. If you'd like to, and it's possible, find a seat that doesn't support your back, where you have to hold yourself upright. If it's too painful to sit that way, find a nice sturdy seat that has good back support, but keeps you upright, so that you can remain focused and attentive. Put your arms into the armrests and your feet firmly on the floor. Let your eyes close. Starting at the top of your head, I want you to feel for any kind of muscle tension that you might have. Take the muscles in your forehead and scrunch them up, and then gently release them. Scrunch the muscles around your eyes. Tightly. And now release them. Feel how the tension comes out of the muscles and you let them relax. Go through your jaw. Tighten those muscles too. But then feel them relax. Search through your body and find any places where you're holding on to tension, and simply let it go. As you sit, you'll notice that thoughts will come to you. Don't try and shoo them away. Don't try and tamp them down. Take a look at your thoughts. Imagine that your thought is held in a little bubble or a balloon right in front of you. You can look at your thought. You can let whatever feelings it generates move through you. You are not your thoughts or your emotions, but you do observe them. When you're ready to, let go of that thought and watch it drift away. Instead of focusing on these incoming thoughts, I'd like for you to focus instead on your breaths. I want you to focus on the sound of your breath as you inhale. Does it make a sound? Pull in the air as deeply as is comfortable. And then slowly let it out. As you breathe, I'd like you to count your breaths. Every time you inhale and then exhale, I'd like you to count 1. 2. 3. 4. whatever your natural rate of breathing is. Focus on the number. Focus on the breathing. This is the only thing that you want to focus on. When thoughts come in, as they inevitably will, let them come in. Look at them, and then release them. Simply focus on your breathing. If you get lost in thought, gently, kindly, take yourself back to the numbers. Take yourself back to your breaths. When you're ready to, you can stop breathing, open your eyes, and return back to your normal aware state. Okay, hopefully you are breathing normally now and you enjoyed that 6 minutes of meditation. Of course, there's many different YouTubers that will do mindfulness meditation. You don't have to pay for any of that kind of stuff. I'm sure there are books in the library that are very much more informative than me on this. And like I said, it's a practice. The more you practice, the better you get. And you don't have to do it for just 6 minutes. You can do it for as long as you like. And you find a time of day to do it. And if you can only do it for 3 minutes, it will be helpful. It helps you to focus. It helps you to be more restful and handle stress a lot better. So I encourage you to practice that. So here is one last study. Sleep health dictates success of practicing mindfulness. This kind of brings it all together, okay? So throughout this series, we looked at exercise can improve your sleep, and sleep can improve your mindfulness. Mindfulness is a way of reducing procrastination, and ending procrastination can relieve your stress. So this is the end of this series of videos, and I hope that you found something helpful from them. And I hope that you have something that you can take from these and practice and better be able to manage your stress. And I thank you for watching.